Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of NOS4A2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, there's that whole interesting situation with Millie when she ended up finding that house. I guess she didn't recognize it as kind of... Because that's why I was wondering, I couldn't really be 100% sure. Is that supposed to be the exact house that her mom and Charlie lived in? But she's going through the house and just like, it's so interesting that, like, once again, she's kind of part of this, she's part of this monstery, like, creepy situation, but even she's getting creeped out by the place. I think that's so interesting that even like a quote unquote scary thing can be scared. That's what I just thought that was kind of fascinating. I mean, it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, because regardless of what Charlie would say, he is scared of Vic. So, like, it's not like he, even when you're on top, you still are always afraid someone's gonna knock you down, type of situation. Weird metaphor to make, I know. But nevertheless, she ended up running into her mom, and her mom ended up grabbing her, and she's like, let me go. And because in the mirror, she sees her mom and herself as who she was before. And it didn't click in my head because she didn't say anything, but then I was like, she doesn't recognize her mom. For one, it's been years, but also that's what Charlie keeps saying, like, oh, like, once you come to Christmas Land, you'll forget all about so-and-so and so-and-so. So it's like, coming to Christmas Land, she forgot all about her mom. So she probably doesn't even remember the fact is that maybe the moment she transformed and killed her mom, that was the beginning of her new memory. So she probably like, oh, I found this random, because at the last second she called her mom. It's okay, mom, and then ended up killing her. But it's like, coming to Christmas Land probably made her forget. So she probably doesn't even recognize that as her mom. Maybe she does, but that's what I just say. It looks like it's like, oh, it's a complete stranger, because she's like, who lives up there? Because it's like she didn't recognize her own mom. And maybe that's on purpose. Because what's starting to make me wonder is, obviously your inscape is a reflection of your own mind. Like, in the inside of Vic's bridge, it's supposed to literally be a manifestation of her mind. So once again, the bats literally leaving all the time is kind of bad for her mental health. So that type of situation. So it's like, if Christmas Land is supposed to be a reflection of Charlie, then maybe just maybe a small portion of his mind is dedicated to, like, that part, that little bit of humanity he had left that still holds on, that he packages off there. Or maybe his wife never died. Maybe when coming into Christmas Land to keep her away from Millie, he banished her there and just kind of separated them. It's like, well, to be fair, in the entire time that they've been in Christmas Land, Millie's never left. This is probably the first time in decades Millie has left Christmas Land. So for her, it's like, I think that's such a unique situation, because I think now we're going to see Millie kind of go a little rebellious, because I think she's slowly but surely maybe breaking the hold that Christmas Land has over, and makes you wonder why now. I think maybe Charlie getting hurt weakened the effects of Christmas Land enough that she's kind of seeing the truth for herself. Seems like no one else is, but I guess maybe her being the first one kind of puts her in a very unique position compared to every other kid. I don't know. That's what I'm wondering about. At the same time, there's a whole situation with Vic. It's like the lake. I was like, what's that going to be all about? And she shows up and I was like, what's that going to be about? And it's like her dad. I was like, oh, and that's also something I was curious about. Like, how much did her family know? Like, how much has she kept in touch with them? It seems like she's kept enough touch, because Chris is like, oh yeah, like, I got pictures of Wayne from Linda. Is she the one that told you where I was? Like, because even Vic's like, yeah, I'm sorry, Dad. Sorry, I never call. I didn't call. I never call. Because I think it's a combination of just, like, she feels like she's probably so much like her dad now that it's just like, it's almost like staring in a mirror. But also just because I think she was like, her and her dad weren't on the last conversation, at least within the confines of the show. We don't know in that 8-year time skip, like, what the last conversation they had was. But at the very least, like, we know it's like her telling him she's pregnant, and he's like, you'll find a way to deal with it, almost kind of being like, you'll figure out what to do, not like, oh, we'll figure out what to do. It's almost like, you'll figure it out, kind of pushing it on her rather than kind of being there to necessarily. I don't know. That's how having rewatched season 1, that's how the feeling I kind of got. But I mean, who knows, necessarily, maybe he had better, intentions than I'm kind of giving him credit for. But she comes back there, like, obviously she ends up passing out, because I guess maybe because this is her first time using her bridge in over 8 years, and it took its toll on her, because she used it back to back, going to the hospital, going to the morgue to find Manx, and then leaving again, and then using it again immediately to leave once more. So I think just using it like 3 times back to back like that probably just took its toll on her, especially considering she hasn't used it in so long. So she ended up catching a bit of a fever and passing out. But her dad's got some of her stuff. And she's asking her dad, like, oh, can I have a job and stuff? You know, I need to get my shit together. And she's reaching in her pockets. I was like, what's she looking for? And he's like, yeah, they're not there. And I was like, oh, the drinks. I forgot she stashed some away when she left. And he was like, yeah, I poured them out. I was like, oh, shit. And that, you know, it also shows something, too. Like, I don't think him and Tiffany are together anymore. Because I guess for him, he knew Tiffany was kind of potentially him kind of running away from everything and probably not the best. I don't know. We don't know if they're necessarily together. Conversation never came up that they're together. So he probably wasn't as fun anymore when he stopped drinking. So that probably just didn't last. I mean, it seems at the very least Chris and Linda are on talking terms. Maybe, I don't know. Because I think both of them feel like at the end of the day, they both feel Vic. So, like, maybe they've kind of rebuilt the relationship. Despite the abusive relationship they've had, like, maybe they're kind of mending fences. I mean, once again, we don't know to what extent. But like, Chris being like, you can stay here as much as you want. I'll give you a job at the demo site. But it's like, this is a dry house. So it's like, it seems like for the past 8 years, he's really kept up this whole sobriety thing. She's like, good for you, Dad. So she goes home. Her mom's excited to see her. Oh my God, you know? And it's like, okay, so where's my grandson? It's like, yeah, him and Lou don't know I'm here. It's like, well, call your son. It's just because she's like, well, what are you, Chris McQueen? No, call your son and tell him where you're at, you know? And obviously she calls. Lou kind of doesn't answer because he knows it's Vic, and he's pissed right now. It's just, you just up and left. And she's like, I love you, Lou. I love Wayne. You can reach me here. Sadly, when Lou does try to get in touch with her at first, she is kind of drinking. She's reflecting because it's a thing, because like her dad had her art book and everything, because let's not forget she gave up going to RISD. Like, it's just I think it's a thing of just like life being less complicated, because it's like, oh, this is the life, like Craig would still be alive, maybe I would have gone off the college. It's almost just like what your life could have been, I think, you know. So it's just interesting because it seems like she's kind of, you know, she's very much in her own mom's shoes in this moment. But there's a whole situation with Bing showing up. And obviously, Lou doesn't know immediately. I was like, oh, Lou must not know about Bing or whatever. And then Charlie, like Wayne, gets called over by Charlie. And he's just talking about, oh, like the fact of the matter is, you know, it was like, when I was your age, I wish for, you know, Christmas and stuff like that. Because let's not forget, because of Vic, he's been denied a Christmas. So he's a little kid that's never known Christmas, but he's probably heard all about it. But it's like, oh, we never celebrated. So to be kind of seduced by all of this, like, you know, the presents and everything. And Lou's just helping the dude out, you know, Bing. But they're like, oh, obviously Bing is always weird. It's just like, he doesn't think things fully through. So he's just kind of like yeah, you're the Harley guy. Yeah, like he doesn't plan out his words, so a lot of times he ended up reiterating a lot of stuff he's already said. So, but it's not until he about to start working on a bike that Lou looks in, he sees the mask and everything, and it clicks. He's like, so he does know about Bing. I mean, it makes sense because, you know, Vic would tell him about Bing because it's like, this is the dude that worked with Charlie that was helping kidnap kids, plus Bing was never captured, so he's still out there, so there was always that. Or it might have just been a byproduct. Either it was meant to be as a warning because Bing's still out there, or it's just because, like, this is the dude that was working with Charlie. But the moment he saw the gas, he reckoned, he's like, oh, he's like, I know it. And then he left a message for Vic, you know, and being like, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope, you know? I thought that was kind of, you know, showing, obviously, Lou. I mean, once again, you can tell that's a nerdy dude, considering their son's name is Bruce Wayne. Once again, I'm still tripping over that. I was like, oh, Wade, and they call him Bruce Wayne. I was like, wait. Then the whole Bats situation, it's like, once again, it's like retrospect is like, that makes so much sense when you include the whole Bats thing. Like, it shows you. Regardless. So the fact of the matter is, Lou ends up knocking Bing out a little bit, going after Wayne, and it seems like Wayne's about to get seduced into the car, but then Wayne's like, what's the password? And he's like, Charlie's like, there are no passwords in Christmas Land, and Wayne's like, wrong, and runs. And it's like, okay, that's interesting, because in the confines of the show, we've never seen that before. To a certain extent, we've never seen like a kid kind of resisting. I mean, we've seen kids resisting, to a certain extent, but like even getting into the car, like, because I think like some part of it, his longing for his mom, like to be with her, like it's like, or maybe he remembers from like his mom probably like what little he knows about Charlie. It's probably like, wait, no, mom told me someone doesn't know the password, don't go with, but whatever the case may be. Luckily Luke got to him. They're calling up Vic. I think she's reluctant to answer the phone because she probably thinks it might be Millie or Charlie. Well, she doesn't. She thinks Charlie's dead. She's thinking it's Millie and the kids from Christmas Land. So, but then she answers and finds out, it's like the cops had called her because like Hutter had gotten to them and it was relocating them. But obviously she calls him. It's like, okay, Manx is still alive. I'm gonna go after him. Which Lou is like, no, don't do it. You can make this seem like this is you being a super creative hero bullshit. It's like, no. This is you, going on a suicide mission. Your son doesn't want you dead. He wants you alive. Be here with him. But for Vic, it's just like, it's because she's got so much going on that she feels like there's no, like I think sadly there is a part of her brain that probably thinks if she died, it'd probably be better for Wayne, because it's like, I'm not that good of a mother. The least I can do is kill Charlie. That's not going to fix everything. Like, obviously it's like, a lot of her trauma comes from Charlie, obviously. It makes you wonder, that doctor from season 1 who was looking after her, now that Charlie was revealed to be a real person, how do they feel? Being like, oh, I guess Charlie wasn't some made-up person that, Like, I love to get the other side of that conversation. Like, obviously that doctor was kind of helping her deal with other stuff, but once again, she had to say what she needed to say to get out of that hospital. So, but it makes you wonder, like, in retrospect, that doctor, like, I guess I'm not really good at my job because there really was a Charlie Manx. Go figure. She told me what she needed to do to get out of here. So. But when it's all said and done, we do see Charlie at that place again. They later on saying like, oh, it's on the night road. Then he meets the dude Abe again. There's also the dude at the front, Snake. I've seen that actor and stuff. Like, isn't that the same actor from, wasn't it the movie From Dusk Till Dawn? He was one, because what's his face? Jake Busey plays a version of that character in the TV show. But you've seen that actor in so many different things. I don't think I've ever known his name, but it's like, yeah, it's crazy. And his name is Snake, and it's just like, oh, you want to go for a game? And Charlie's like, I'm not stupid. Never playing a game with you. And so it's so interesting. So it's not just Charlie that's very monstrous. It seems like granted, we saw other strong creatives last season, but only for a little bit. We never got really introduced to them. But it's like Charlie's talking to Abe. And what's so interesting about that conversation too, it kind of shows you like, oh, Vic versus Charlie isn't the first strong creative like beef. To be fair, he's going up against Jolene and everything too. There's that complicated thing, but it's like, it seems like in that space of other strong creatives, I'm curious, like, is it kind of a good versus evil thing where it's like, because later on Charlie explains what the Night Road is. It's basically a landscape created by all these different strong creators pulling themselves together, but it's like people with dark intentions. Because he even says like, people used to be afraid of Honest Abe coming out of his empty forest onto the Night Road, but now look at you, you're scared. And I thought that was interesting. He wants to meet someone known as Our Man. They were even talking about the Walking Backwards Man. So I guess it was someone that was coming after Abe, but Charlie helped him with that situation. And now Abe is kind of in Charlie's debt. And it's like... But then, Vic showed up. And obviously Charlie's saying all the stuff that kind of... Like, a drunk, calling her a whore. The only reason why he's calling her that is because you had a child out of wedlock and you're not with your child's father, you're with some other dude. And it's just like, because also he looks at her, he's been calling her one since like, because, oh, you're not mine, you're supposed to be pure, his whole discussing perspective on the whole situation, regardless. Vic, and it also, because I kept wondering like what her, like obviously, so the headaches are still there, so it's not like she's completely removed from it, because obviously once again Charlie found a way to go about avoiding the price of his Endscape. Obviously Vic hasn't. I was wondering if that was going to be the case, but like we do see in this episode her eye's not bleeding, but it is pretty damn red. So it's at one point, so it's like, okay, so obviously the price is still there. It just probably took a while because it's been so long for it to finally get. It makes you wonder, like, since she hasn't used her bridge in 8 years, has that gotten better? I mean, it makes you also wonder, like, I mean, she even said it herself, like, using her bridge all those times, like, fighting Charlie last season, like, maybe, all those bats leaving her head did take their toll. It makes you wonder, did it ever get replenished, or is it a thing of, like, oh, once all the bats are gone, they're gone. Like, there's no getting those back. So, it's a reflection of her, kind of her mental state and everything. But, obviously Charlie's prepared for her this time, so it's not going to be as easy as it was before. So she leaves and goes back home, and her mom is obviously seeing, like, the bottle out, the pages everywhere. It's like, oh, like, she's worried that obviously Vic might be becoming her dad. And it's just like, obviously for Vic, it's a thing of, like, she feels like every time she tries, she fails, which her mom is like, yeah, I get that. Everyone kind of feels that. Like, the fact of the matter is, you kind of go, like, you never really, it's almost that thing of, like, you don't going into parenthood, you think you know enough, but it never feels like you do. You always feel like you're never going to be prepared, because your kid, when they're born, they kind of take everything from you, in a sense, and you're going to have to give more than you're able to give. And it's just like, but that's just part of being a parent, because at the end of the day, you trying to stay away from your child because you feel like you're a screw up, that's not going to do them any good. The only good that's going to be there is if you're there with your child. They need you. That's what it means being a mom, is staying. That's love, and even her joking, being like, I mean, granted, I've never burned down my own house, but for her, it's like, I've made plenty of mistakes. She's like, but the fact of the matter is, it comes down to, despite all those mistakes, because you will keep screwing up, you will constantly feel like you're screwing up all the time, but at the very least, be there for your kid, so. And so we see that Vic does show up at, there later on. She runs into Maggie, because they're, Lou and Wayne, or at the very least, are staying with them for now. Maybe they'll be at some other place, but maybe just for tonight they're there. But Maggie saying, like, don't worry, we'll get Charlie together this time, because, like, last time, it was sadly, like, Vic kind of had to go against Charlie by herself. It's like, he's going to have to get through all of us if he wants to get to you, And so, obviously, Wayne is kind of like, a little distant, being like, it's whatever, I'm fine. And then, Lou's asking, are you just passing through, or are you staying? And she's like, I'm staying. And so it's nice to see, it's like granted, it's not like it fixes everything, but at the very least, she's here now, and that's what, at the end of the day, matters most. Then finally, there's the dude at the end, Hourglass. What that's all about, I'm only assuming it's some dude that has the power to either reverse time or something. It's like, why Charlie wants to meet with him. Is he going to be like, because what's interesting too, it's like right before everything, his ears started bleeding. So I was like, oh, is that kind of like the price for whatever his, thing is? Like, was that it kicking in? And it's like, all right. And it's that, I guess Charlie is a bit of a legend amongst the show creators. He's like, oh my God, of course I want to meet with Charlie, mate. Who the hell is Victoria Queen? So, also played by Paul Schneider, which seen him in a multitude of things. I want to say, isn't the most recent thing he did? I've only seen parts of the first season, but like Channel Zero. I think that's like the most recent thing I think he's done that I'm aware of. I feel like there's something else I've watched fairly recently with him, and I just can't remember what besides that. Regardless. So I'm interested to see. I'm curious. Is it just going to be Charlie that she's up against? Like, she might end up being up against other strong creators, especially if he's using that place as a hub, maybe. But once again, there's the whole thing with, like, Millie, too. Like, obviously, she cut off, like, that reindeer or moose's head and left it at the door. And, like, her mom came out and was like, Millie. And once again, she doesn't remember her, but it's like, okay. So a lot of moving pieces, going on at once. And I'm curious to kind of see how this all ultimately ends up playing out. How Vic plans on fighting Charlie, if she even does. I mean, because it's like, you got to be there for your family, protect them, because it's like you weren't there before when Wayne needed you, and now you need to be there now. So it's going to be interesting to see, because he's probably going to have a whole bunch of questions that she's probably going to have to answer, but also, like, Vic's issues aren't going to just magically go away. She has to deal with them. She has to fix it. Like, obviously, the drinking, can't be doing that in front of your son. I'm not trying to shame her or anything like Charlie did, but it's just like, because, like, once again, she doesn't want history to repeat itself, much like her dad, because her dad was like, he even apologized for the fact that he was drinking so much with her growing up, and obviously it took now for him to kind of, shape up. So hopefully, we see that he, once again, we got a small peek into his world, so we don't know if he's 100% managing, but it seems like he is. So, you can only hope the same thing happens with Vic. But I'm really curious to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.